What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jordan Cameron back with another update of the biggest blow-off top in crypto history, followed by the biggest rug pull in crypto history. And in today's video, we're going to talk about mainly, right, our thesis, right? We continue to talk about our thesis because the charts have not changed as of now. And we're going to talk about our invalidations, right? First of all, our bullish invalidation of where we become bearish if the market continues higher, which is still our main thesis that the market is going to continue higher. And if we are wrong, which, everyone's wrong sometimes, where we flip bearish if the market goes down, right? I think it's important to have a scenario and a plan for each, right? And what I've noticed of being on Twitter and just checking out YouTube comments, Twitter comments, I'm noticing a lot of emotions coming back in the market again. And that's pretty typical and pretty normal when you get these big liquidation events, especially on altcoins, especially when a lot of the leverage traders get absolutely wrecked, right? And today we're going to talk about why we're seeing those emotions and where we typically see those emotions in the market, right? Pretty much, on the chart, right, for Bitcoin. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump on in. So obviously, if you guys are new to the channel, right, our thesis since the March and April low, right, that's not something we've just been talking about since the highs, right? We're not top ticking and being bullish at the highs, right? Since March and April, we've been discussing why we think total market cap is going to hold this trend line on the bottom of our macro rising wedge, and why we think we're going to see a blow off top up to 10 trillion or the 4236 Fibonacci level. And we've discussed many reasons of why we think that's going to happen. It's not based off of what we want to happen or necessarily how we feel. It's based off of a bunch of different charts, including over here on stablecoin dominance, Bitcoin liquidity, and even the gold chart, which we'll talk about in today's video as well. But, really what it came down to back in March and April, and this is going to lead us to our discussion of what's currently happening in the market, was down here we were approaching the 50 moving average band. And if you were in the market, February, March time, we continue to discuss of why we remain bullish, right? We do not turn into a bear at the most obvious times where it is actually more likely that we should be a bull, right? And that was back in March and April when Bitcoin hit the 50 moving average band back towards 75 to 74,000, right? A lot of fear, a lot of emotions coming into the market. But just like every single time that Bitcoin came into the 50 moving average band, what did we see, right? Back in 2023, we saw a low come in there for BTC. Back in 2024, we saw a low come in there for BTC. And in 2025, once again, we saw a low come in there for BTC. And each time that has happened, that is when the emotions have been the highest in the market. And that's when you've seen a lot of people start to switch bearish. When in reality, we've continued to say on this channel, it is smarter to be bullish on Bitcoin as long as it is above the 50 moving average bands, which if you don't know what that is, it's the 50 moving average symbol and the 50 exponential moving average. And as you guys can see, Bitcoin is once again approaching the 50 moving average band, and emotions are getting high. Okay, emotions are getting very, very high right now, which is, typical and not anything to really be, not expected. And I think right now we have to keep our cool mind, right? Keep our minds cool. Look at where we are on the chart. Focus on the data. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a hell of a video today discussing, is our thesis of the biggest blow off top in crypto history still valid, or is it over, right? Has any of our validations been hit? Is it time to flip into a bear? And are we going into a deep bear market, right? That's what we're going to focus on today. But once again, Bitcoin approaching the 50 moving average band, hasn't even hit it yet, and emotions are running wild, right? Top calls on Twitter. And though it is always possible that the top could be in for Bitcoin at 126,000, we have not hit our invalidations yet. And it is still more smart to be bullish on Bitcoin, right, than be bearish on Bitcoin, as long as it is above the 50 moving average bands in every single cycle. And any weekly closure below the 50 moving average bands for Bitcoin is the time where we typically want to pull our chips out and say sayonara, peace out for a year, and come back at the end of the next bear market. And that's where we're going to continue to discuss. I'll be the first one, if Bitcoin does get a weekly closure below the 50 moving average band, I'll be the first one to come on and say, hey, I think this total market cap chart is useless at this point. It's time to throw it away, and we're going into a long extended bear market, okay? But as of right now, Bitcoin's still above the 50 moving average band, so our bearish invalidation has not been hit, right? So we can say firmly that our bearish invalidation has not been hit, okay? And what we'll quickly do is discuss our bullish invalidation. So a lot of you guys may be coming on here and say, how the heck could we get total market cap up to 10 trillion, right? And my main thesis has been that the stablecoin dominance chart, which you guys can see has been getting a pretty big retrace back to the upside, is still only about halfway to our target of 4.91%. Now, this is our bullish invalidation, okay? Our bullish invalidation has always been, okay, if we see stablecoin dominance reach back to 4.91%, we're definitely going to be more in the bearish camp, be more in so that we're towards the end of the cycle and it is time to switch bearish because we've hit our bullish targets. Because we know if stablecoin dominance moves down, that means typically total market cap is moving up. And that's what we've seen since the March and April low, right? We've seen total market cap go from about 2 trillion to 4 trillion, right? A 2x on total market cap of crypto, while we've seen stablecoin dominance move from 8.91% to 5.68%, okay? And until we hit the bottom of this, in my opinion, what this is a giant Wyckoff accumulation schematic on stablecoin dominance, until we see this range low again, my belief still is that this is going to continue down without breaking the 8.75% high again. This is going to continue down until we see the bottom, okay, of the range. We remain bullish, okay? So have we hit, if we take a look at this, have we hit our bearish invalidation, which is Bitcoin closing below the 50 moving average band? The answer is no. The answer is firmly no. Have we hit our bullish invalidation of stablecoin dominance hitting 4.91%? Also, the answer is no. So for me, and this is not for you, this is for everyone, you know, this is for myself, I have not hit my bearish or bullish invalidations just yet. So I still remain bullish on the crypto market, okay? I am not going to let my emotions of the biggest liquidation in crypto history, which most coins have retraced, within 20% of where they were before that. I'm not going to let the emotions of that cloud my judgment while the charts still look the same to me, okay? The Bitcoin chart, still above the 2024 highs, still above the 50 moving average bands, have not hit the bearish invalidation. Stablecoin dominance has not hit 4.91%, the bottom of the range that's been forming since 2023. This giant Wyckoff accumulation, we have not seen that yet. So my bullish invalidation has not been hit. So for me, I'm still looking at total market cap continuing to rise, okay? And I will be the first one to come out here and say if Bitcoin does start getting weekly closures below the 50 moving average bands, which currently are at 100,000 to 102,000, which again, those are going to move up again this week. So we have a really good invalidation point, okay? An excellent invalidation point where if Bitcoin does get a weekly close below the 50 moving average band, we still made a shitload of money this cycle, okay? And if it does, I'll be the first one to come on here and say, guys, I don't think my thesis is playing out. I think we're going to end up going down into a bear market, okay? But that has not been hit yet, so I still remain bullish on the crypto market on the high time frames, the weekly, monthly, high time frames. Still believe that the market is going higher because we have not seen our bullish or bearish invalidations hit yet. Now, what can we look at? And a few different things that we can look at to say this. Well, first, it's our total market cap chart, right? Still just grinding against the bottom of our giant rising wedge, right? Our COVID low, our 2023 low, our 2024 low, our 2025 low, still just grinding on top of that support again. Each time it's hit this, that end up being a major low or somewhere near the major low for the total market cap of crypto. My opinion still is that this ends, okay? You guys can see that total market cap is still clinging right to that 2024 high. My opinion is that this still ends with a giant, or more so bigger push to the upside before this all comes crumbling down. I do believe that the market makers are going to want to suck everyone in. And that's evidence on the stablecoin dominance chart, which I still believe is going to the bottom of the range. And if we said if this moves down, we expect total market cap to continue to move up. Now, what has been the giant story as of late, right? The giant story as of late has mostly been gold absolutely ripping to the upside, which it has been, right? Now, this is obviously put on the log scale chart. you guys can see a little bit more representation of this. We've obviously seen gold rip to the upside. Okay. Now, if you've been around this market for quite a while, okay, and what we've seen typically in this bull market, right? You guys can see that gold bottomed in, October 2022, around the same time Bitcoin bottomed. Gold and Bitcoin have both been in bull markets at the same time, but Bitcoin has typically rallied when gold has settled down, okay? When we get these consolidation periods here, okay, we typically see Bitcoin rally in those time periods, okay? If we actually bring up the Bitcoin USD chart, and we try to get this as best as we can here, okay? During these times where gold is settling down, as you guys can see right here, back in 2020, early 2025, that was actually the same time frame that Bitcoin, which is this blue line, actually moved up while gold settled down, okay? We can see this, we can make off many different examples of this, but Bitcoin usually moves to the upside when gold moves or essentially consolidates. Okay, we can see another example here where gold consolidated for a few months, and in that time frame, right, we essentially saw Bitcoin rise during that time frame. Okay, now my opinion is that we've seen gold kind of move up for the last 2.5 months. Okay. I do believe essentially we're going to see a gold cool down. Not necessarily that it has to plunge. If it does, that would be that would correlate perfectly to our crypto blow off top, because if gold plunges, you would expect crypto to absolutely skyrocket. But even just a gold consolidation, which we saw in 2025 and 2024, could essentially lead to Bitcoin going on its mixed move to the upside. Okay, and you guys can see that gold has essentially risen, 31%. It's probably due for some type of correction or some type of consolidation period, which then allows, like we saw in the last two scenarios here, Bitcoin to get its next rally to the upside while gold consolidates. Okay, and I think this is once again evidenced by the stablecoin dominance chart, evidenced by the gold chart. But actually, if we go to our altcoin chart as well, okay, we can also look at this evidence on the altcoin chart, okay, which once again is also forming its giant rising wedge that we've seen since 2020, right? I guess exactly 2020. But once again, altcoins have come back down and wicked below its giant rising wedge, but still once again holding support in there. Okay, and we've said we're going to have to see some type of movement by the altcoins, whether they're going to plunge down to the deep depths of hell, or if we're actually going to see this breakout above, the 1 trillion point, which we've been stuck below since 2021. You guys can see we're going to have to see some type of move probably in Q4, right, or early Q1. Right, where this is going to have to decide, hey, are we going to get this blast up to 2-3 trillion at the top of our rising wedge, which is still my thesis that the crypto market's going to continue up to those levels, or are we going to actually break this macro rising wedge and just go down to the deep depths of hell, right? That's sort of the question here in the next, I guess, 3 to 6 months, is we're going to have to see some type of move here. It's coiling up. We're seeing a giant coiling. Still, my thesis is that we're going to continue up here, okay? And we're just going to continue to climb the wall of worry, okay? What is the wall of worry? Well, the wall of worry is these moves up, right? These sort of bearish news events that push price down, everyone getting bearish again, price moves up, bearish news events, price moves down, okay? Then price moves up again, right? Climbing the wall of worry is what it's called. And you guys can see evidence right now. We are getting that sort of wall of worry happening once again in markets, okay? Which is a classic example of climbing the wall of worry. So, we're 14 minutes into this video, and essentially, I'm just going to continue to rattle off different things here and just continue to explain the thesis, okay? So Bitcoin against global liquidity. Okay, there has been sort of a consolidation period. If you look back in the last couple of videos, and not even the last couple of videos, but back in like early September, late August, we did mention that global liquidity sort of had this cool down period, sort of towards the middle of September to the middle of October. Okay, was essentially where we could see some weakness in the crypto market, right? We're still bullish on Q4, but essentially, right, global liquidity on, what do we put it here as? I think a 75-day lag, okay, which you guys can see Bitcoin's follow global liquidity since 2023 on a 75-day lag, all right? Essentially, middle of September to middle of October was essentially a region here where we could see some weakness because of global liquidity, some weakness on Bitcoin. And you guys can see that actually played out pretty well, right? We actually front ran it a little bit, but essentially the weakness on global liquidity meant some weakness here on the crypto market essentially during this time, okay? But what you guys can see on that same 75-day lag, okay, we essentially then saw global liquidity actually push up to a new high, okay? Are we about to see Bitcoin once again also push up and see a new high over the course of the next 75 days, right? Essentially putting in that Q4 top, okay? And that would line up perfectly with gold maybe getting some type of cool down over the course of the next, I don't know, a couple weeks, right? Is essentially gold has seen this massive move to the upside. I don't actually think gold is topped at this point. I think she actually probably has some higher to go, but it is due for a cool down period as you guys seen, people in Venezuela sort of lining up to buy gold for spot prices and massive lines, and retail's starting to get a little crazy on gold here. All right, but nevertheless, once again, I think once again when we sort of look at all this, right, global liquidity continuing up, stablecoin dominance still not hitting our 4.91% level, right? Gold due for a cool down, and Bitcoin still not breaking the 50 moving average band. When I sort of put all this data together and I sort of put all these charts together, my emphasis is still for me to be bullish as long as Bitcoin stays above the 50 moving average band, okay? And could I lose some money, okay, at this point where Bitcoin's at 108,000? We did just see Bitcoin at 104,000. Will that lose me some money if Bitcoin decides to, whatever it does in this region, chop and then come back down and break below? Will I lose some from this point because I didn't sell here, right? And I sell 7% lower? Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely, that'll lose me some profits, right? But I'm willing to keep money in the market as long as Bitcoin holds above that 50 moving average band. And I'm willing to lose another 7% to see if Bitcoin holds the 50 moving average band, or even if it front runs it, right? It doesn't have to hit it, but I'm perfectly willing to see Bitcoin go all the way down to 100,000, okay, and then see it bounce. Or if it does close below, just cut it there, okay? And the good thing is every week that goes by, that moves up. So our invalidation moves up every single week. And you'll have a lot of people in the comment section, a lot of people on Twitter saying, well, now you're saying that. And if it does happen, right, oh my God, that's crazy, right? You're flipping bearish at 100,000. I've been saying that since the start of my thesis in March and April, that as long as Bitcoin holds the 50 moving average band, I remain bullish. If it breaks below the 50 moving average band, I go bearish, right? That's been the motto, that's been the thesis, and that's been our bearish invalidation. That's going to continue to be our bearish invalidation. But as long as Bitcoin holds above, we continue to be bullish. I'm going to keep hammering that point home for myself, okay? Because that's my plan. I've had a plan, and my plan, I have a bullish plan and I have a bearish plan, and they are both not hit yet. So for me, there's nothing really to do in the market, okay? Really nothing really to do in the market, right? Simple as that. So the last kind of thing I want to talk about today is sort of altcoins, okay? We talked a lot about Bitcoin and why I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, but altcoins, right? And my sort of thinking here, and my thinking for the last few weeks has simply been, I still think it's Ethereum season. And what I mean by that is there's usually this rotation in crypto, right? It starts with Bitcoin, then it goes to Ethereum, then it goes to the altcoin market. I still think we're in that Ethereum season, right? Where I do believe that if there's any upwards movement in crypto, that Ethereum is going to be the major beneficiary to start, okay? We're obviously going to have different metas, right? Obviously, privacy coins are pretty popular right now. You had Binance coins going up, right? A few weeks ago. There's going to be different sectors going up. But overall, I do believe it's Ethereum season. If we are going to see the market go up, right, which I still do believe, is going to happen as long as we have Bitcoin above the 50 moving average band. I still believe that Ethereum is going to be the major beneficiary of that first move up. Okay. I do believe that we moved on to that Ethereum season, right? And, if we just kind of look at the Ethereum chart here, I think it's a very interesting chart. Okay, and I think it's still one of the more bullish charts in crypto as long as we hold above, 3,900 on any type of weekly close. So you guys can see right now we are. Okay, that could change by the end of the weekly close, which is in a few hours. But as of right now, we're still above. This trend line that was since 2022 that we held many, many times on the way up, okay, that we eventually broke down, we reclaimed. We have actually just come back down and retested that, okay, and actually formed a support level there, as well as forming support on top of all our 2024 highs and 2021 highs. So for me, when you just look at this from a crypto cycle standpoint, I think if you want your other altcoins to perform well, we're going to have to see Ethereum lead the way here. And we need to see Ethereum get into price discovery to get a more so widespread altcoin season. That's sort of always been my thesis. So, as we sort of go here, my thinking is and this is just what I personally think is going to happen. I don't know, guys, and I have my bearish invalidation, but for me, my personal thought process here is that we see Bitcoin bounce, all right, and make a new high. But it's really going to be Ethereum on that bounce, whether it happens now or whether we see Bitcoin go to 100K again, which is sort of totally possible. I think Ethereum is going to be that beneficiary that pushes into price discovery. And the other altcoins may lag a little bit on that move, okay? But what happens at that point, once you get Ethereum into price discovery, okay, I think you're going to see a lot of that money rotate into especially altcoins that haven't really ran yet, okay? Your other assets, right? Your other altcoins. But for now, I still do think that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to sort of hog up a little bit of that money until we see a firm breakout of all-time highs on Ethereum. And that's going to be the signal for all the other altcoins to really start running, right? Not do this chop up and down, but to really get some maintained price action to the upside. And I think that's evidenced here on our Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoin dominance chart. I know today's a long video, guys, but I really want to touch point home on a lot of these points. If we just take a look at this chart once again, guys, the best place to buy alts has been when we reached 82%, right? We bought alts anywhere in this point. It's been a pretty good point on average, okay? And what this chart essentially shows, if this chart moves up, we're seeing basically money move into the safe cryptos, right? Which I consider Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins. And if this moves down, you're seeing money move into everything else, right? The more risky, right? Everything else, all the other altcoins that are purely more risky than Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins, okay? And if you kind of look at this chart, we have this giant wick up here, once again retesting this trend line here, but back to 82%, right? Buying that 82% level on this was, once again, a very, very good idea. My standpoint is still this. I'm not telling you guys to buy stuff, okay? I think the time to buy was when we had this massive liquidation wick right here. That was the time to buy alts. We've kind of retraced a little bit of that move. If we do see this move up here to 82% again, and that move is because that Bitcoin and Ethereum are outpacing other alts, I do believe that is going to be the time to buy alts, okay? And anytime we come up into here is the time to buy alts. Anytime we moved away from this, not the time to buy altcoins. They're not undervalued at that point, okay? My thinking is still that eventually, okay, when that happens, I don't really know. I'm not really about time. I'm more about just looking at the price charts and looking at sort of direction rather than time. But I still do believe that this eventually sees a move back down to 63.77, right, and just continuing to form this more macro range of sort of this is more of a Bitcoin dominance chart, but including ETH and stable coins to really get that like safety coin chart. I still do believe that we see this sort of risk on point where money moves out of these four assets and into everything else, okay? And when that happens, I don't really know, okay? I'm positioned for either way, right? Bitcoin's my biggest holding. I do hold a lot of Ethereum, and I do hold altcoins, but essentially I'm positioned for either way, okay? And I think it's smart to be positioned for either way. All right, so that's kind of the thought process here. If we do see another move up to 82% on this, which could happen, that's probably the time where you want to be looking for altcoin buys. In my personal opinion, that's been the best time for altcoin buys. Would I buy alts right at this moment after we've already retraced? Not necessarily. Okay, not necessarily. I don't advocate for buying high. Okay, I advocate for buying low and when things are undervalued. All right. So as we kind of go along here, guys, long video today, but I think my video still illustrates why neither my validation for Bitcoin on high time frames, the bullish invalidation or the bearish invalidation have not been hit yet. So for me, throughout this turmoil the last few weeks, where Bitcoin, I mean, at the moment sitting really only 13% below all-time highs. Throughout this turmoil, really not much has happened on the majors, right? ETH, where are we talking? ETH down 18% from the highs, Bitcoin down 13% from highs. There's not really much for me to do. And there's a lot for me to say simply because I see a lot of, whippy-washy, panicky people in the market right now. And once again, until my next video, this might change. We might see Bitcoin below 100,000, below. It's really not the price level 100,000, guys. It's the 50 moving average band. We may see Bitcoin below the 50 moving average band by the next video that I make. And if we do, my next video title will be, I have to flip bearish. All right. And I don't want to do that, but I would have to flip bearish if Bitcoin broke below the 50 moving average band. I'm hoping that does not happen. Okay. But that is always a possibility. All right. For now, my thesis still remains that I still think we're going to see Bitcoin in the crypto market go on the biggest blow off top that we've ever seen. Okay. That's still my thesis. Nothing has changed until my bearish invalidation gets hit or my bullish invalidation gets hit, which neither one have happened yet. So that's it for the video, guys. Nice long one, we're going on 27 minutes. Thank you for anyone that's watched this whole video. That's really it, right? I think that the levels to have marked in your chart is Bitcoin 50 moving average band, Stablecoin dominance 4.91%. If neither of those gets hit, there's nothing to be done. All right. And we simply sit in our hands and we wait until one of those criteria get met, right? So it's been your boy Jordan Cameron. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel so either you can be on a journey of this biggest blow off top in crypto history followed by the biggest rug pull in crypto history, or if it doesn't work out, you can come in, right? We can have a chat in the comments and you guys control me, right? Anyways, catch you guys in the next video. It's been your boy Jordan Cameron. Peace.